D3 was not my first option. I looked to go D1 first, UCLA, Hawaii, UC San Diego, Santa Cruz, wherever. And they said that there's not a lot of scholarship money for liberos, which is unfortunate, but that's just the case. And so I had a coach recommend Division III to me. So that was my first, I'd never heard of D3. That was my first introduction to it. Was a former coach said, maybe you should start looking East Coast, maybe start looking D3. And I realized that it was going to be a perfect fit.
I never really had I never made a decision to go D3, D2, D1. I just happened to be in a D3 sports school. So yeah, I never really had a preference of what division I went to.
I decided to go to Hunter because of the price and location. I was given a list of all the Division III schools that offered volleyball, and as I went down the list, the first thing that I was looking for was price, and I saw that Hunter was pretty affordable. And then I saw location, I saw New York, and I thought, I don't know, it doesn't seem like you can beat that.
Actually, I came to Hunter mostly because there is a fencing team here. I used to go to New York City College of Technology. There was no fencing. And I came to one of the homecomings, and then I decided to come to the school just to fence.
I started playing volleyball in the 5th grade. So what does that make you, 11 years old? That was my first competitive team that I played on. My dad coached us. We went undefeated. And that was my first introduction to it, and it made me love the sport.
I started fencing in my junior year of high school, and then I did that for 1 year. Then I took a 2-3 year break because of injury. And then I came back to fence at Hunter.
Volleyball is one of those sports where it's super fun to watch, and it's super fun to be a part of and play, but not that many people do it. It's often regarded as a women's sport, and lots of high schools don't offer it around the country. So to be a good volleyball player is sort of cool, just because you're one of the few of them, and lots of basketball kids want to play volleyball after they're done because they're tall and they can jump, but it's so much more than that. And it's not something you can just hop into because it's all footwork, and it's about being technical, and it's not the same. It's not the same footwork. It's not the same technical aspects as other sports. So I think that's one of the cool things about it. It separates it from the other aspects of any other sport. And you can play indoors, you can play grass, you can play on the beach, you can play in the snow. There's really no limitations to volleyball.
To be a student athlete, it means you gotta really manage your time, or else it's gonna just come back and bite you in the ass. You gotta find ways to practice, find ways to work out outside of practice. You gotta find ways to do your homework. You gotta find ways to study, do group work. You gotta do so much and be able to balance all that time and continue to push yourselves on both sides of the scene.
I think one of the main benefits of being a student athlete at Hunter is priority registration. Another one is the great community family aspect that you get here, especially it being a commuter school that it is. The Hunter athletics family is super close, and I think you don't get that in most other places, or especially here. One of the flaws, I would say, of being a student athlete is you don't have that much personal time. Most of my day is consumed with workouts, school, homework, and sleeping, so that way I can get ready to go ahead and compete and stay healthy.
I've had my troubles of setting up group work for my classes because I had to go to practice. You're tired. You're very tired. And also, sometimes it's just very stressful, I'd say. But it pays off in the end.
Yeah, basically there's 7 starters, only 6 people on the court at a time for your own team. So there are 12 people on the court. There's a net in the middle, so it's non-contact, and it starts with a serve and a point would end either on an error or if the ball touching the ground. So as a kid, I imagine many of you played Keep the Balloon Off the Floor. It's basically a higher level form of that game.
If I were explaining fencing, let's see, you're using these weapons that look like swords. You're trying to basically, I would say you're trying to poke each other. There's 3 sub-weapons, there's epee, foil, and saber. Each one has a different target area and a different style, I'd say. So I fence foils, so my target area is basically the chest, the sides, and back. Or easier way to say is not the head, not the arms, and not the legs, and not the floor. So this one requires you to be very precise. Saber is more like I would say like a pirate kind of thing. You're kind of like cutting at each other, and epee is just, you're going for first blood. You can hit anywhere you want to hit. Bouts usually go to 5 points, unless it's like an elimination bout, which it goes to 15. But yeah. What brings me joy from fencing is the fact that it's like mental chess. Like on the outside, it looks like people are just poking each other, but if you were in an actual fencing match, it's like you're trying to compete mentally with this other person. You're trying to outsmart them. You're trying to predict what they're going to do. You have to react to what they're going to do. It's very tiring. So it takes a lot out of you, and there's just so much to it. And yeah, it's a really fun thing to do. So it's like when I'm having a bad day, fencing just soothes my brain. I put a mask on and I feel like I'm in a whole different place.
I think the volleyball team has sort of a reputation here on campus as being one of the party teams, as one of the teams who works out a lot. We're always here. Like, during my 4 years playing, I spent probably 8 to 12 hours at Hunter every day between class, hanging out, and practice, working out. So we're definitely like more of the familiar faces here. I feel like every administrator knows who we are, and we're one of the winningest teams on campus. And I think that that's what separates us from some of the other teams, is our familiarity. Boom. Boom.